Hey guys, I wanted an AI assistant that I can talk to from my phone and use whenever I want to. I have already been using Claude Code for a while and I really like it. But the downside is that it would often mean that I would spend a lot of time at my desk. So I was trying to figure out a way, how can I do a lot of what I do at my desk from my mobile phone? And that's when I set up Hermes as my AI assistant. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 main parts of my Hermes setup for my AI assistant. And hopefully that will give you a picture of what it's like. Maybe you're thinking about setting up an AI assistant yourself, or maybe you've heard things about AI assistants and you're not sure if you should try it, or maybe you're just curious in general. Maybe you already have your own AI assistant and you want to find ways to improve it. So if any of those are your situations, then this video may be helpful for you. If you're new to this channel, my name is Joe Armstrong, and I create online businesses that can run without me. I've been in the SEO and course space for over 10 years, and now I'm using AI to help improve existing businesses while also create new businesses. And I'm sharing what I'm learning about AI here on this channel. So one thing to note is that I'm constantly changing the setup. It's fairly new for me. I'm still using Claude Code, so I haven't switched over everything. But so far, I've been using Hermes a lot more recently, and I have to say I really like it. So I'm slowly moving my workflows over from VS Code and regular Claude Code over to Hermes. And so far, it's been working great. So let's cover those 5 points. So the first part of my AI assistant setup is having an always-on computer. And for that, I use Hostinger VPS. I have Hermes installed on that VPS, and that way it's always on. It's always available, and I can connect to it and use the AI assistant whenever I want. That way, I don't have to rely on having a computer that's always on. Now, I still do have that set up with VS Code. I do have a computer that is always on that I can connect to, but I'm trying this out with the VPS, and so far, I really like it. I may change my setup as time goes on, but this is what I'm using now. Part 2, Hermes and the AI model. So for my current setup, I'm using Hermes, and that's connected to Codex, where currently it's 5.6. And that's the setup I'm using now, but that may change. And I have experimented with other setups. So you don't need to use Hermes. You can also use OpenClaw or any of the other harnesses. And you don't need to necessarily use Codex. The rules are always changing for which AI models you can connect to, which ones you can connect to using subscription. But right now I'm using Codex because I can connect my Hermes agent to Codex on the subscription and use it that way. And the nice thing about this setup is that if for some reason I find that Codex isn't what I need, or Codex changes the rules, or I just decide I want to experiment with another AI model, I can easily switch that out. I can change over from Codex over to Claude Code and back again. There are even setups where you can use them together. I haven't gone down that road too far yet, but if I do, I'll share more about that in future videos. Part 3, Telegram. Telegram is what I use to connect to my Hermes agent. That way it allows me to connect through my mobile phone or my computer. And that's really nice because the interface is great. It's really easy to communicate. I can send a voice note, or I can type, or I can talk into my phone and have my phone do speech to text. On my computer, I use an application that works really well for voice to text. The native Mac version works okay, but I find having a specific app for that works a bit better. Some people use Whisperflow. I've experimented with that. That's also good, but I like the current tool that I'm using. So the cool thing about using Telegram is that it really feels like a personal assistant. You can have threaded mode enabled, which means that within the Telegram chat, you can have different threads. So you can start different topics and you can have the agent research or do one execution or one task and then another task and another task, and you can bounce around. If you're familiar with VS Code, it's kind of similar to having separate conversations set up in VS Code. I really like this setup because it feels very much like you're talking to someone. Like you have your own assistant that's just executing tasks on your behalf. So far, Telegram has been great. I may experiment with other ways of communicating with the AI assistant. For example, I've heard you can use Slack. There are probably other messengers that you can use, but so far, I like Telegram. Part 4, GitHub. So I use a GitHub account for version control. So basically, Hermes is connected to my GitHub account, and I have different repositories on there. So anytime that I want to take some project or some code that's on my VPS, I can have AI assistant send it over to GitHub, and that way it has version control. And that way, if later, for some reason, Hermes makes a mistake or there's some miscommunication and I need to roll back to a previous version, I can do that. An example of this may be, let's say I'm redesigning a website and I have Hermes put out a new design, and initially I like it, but then when it goes live, I decide, actually it's not that good when I actually try it on my phone. So I can just say, go back to the previous version. GitHub has the version control, and that way nothing's lost. So I really like having GitHub for that purpose. Part 5, server. For deployments, I use Vercel. So Vercel is kind of like a server. It has a connection to GitHub. So once you push things to GitHub, you can have it automatically deploy to Vercel. I don't remember which one is used for which case, but basically the way it works is you communicate with Telegram with your AI assistant. Then once you get something that you'd like to have committed, it saves it to the local VPS, GitHub, and then from GitHub, it can deploy to Vercel. So an example of this is, let's say you have your own personal website and you can host it on Vercel. What you can do is you can have a connection where Vercel is connected to GitHub, and then GitHub is connected to your AI assistant. You and your AI assistant coordinate and communicate. Your AI assistant makes changes, pushes it to GitHub, and then GitHub automatically deploys it to Vercel. And so I'll give you an example or a use case for this. So for me, the way I use this is I do like to make changes to my websites on the fly. When I'm out, if I notice something that needs to be changed, I like to be able to change it immediately. So I can just open up Telegram. I can talk into my phone and tell my AI assistant that I'd like this change. Maybe I want font changed. Maybe I want a page updated. Maybe I want some links added in. Maybe I want a page removed. Any of these things are possible. I just tell that to my AI assistant, and then the AI assistant confirms, sends it to GitHub. GitHub then sends it to Vercel, and it's live. So that's basically how it works. So that's my setup with my AI assistant. As I continue to make changes and improve, I'll share more about what I'm doing here on the channel.